And action! Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Colin. I am Colin Egglesfield, and on this show, I love to bring on guests who have something exciting and inspirational to share. And tonight's guest is someone who has created her own coffee company. As someone who loves coffee, I drink a lot of it, and it is something that I am a bit of an aficionado about. And I have to say, this coffee is some of the best coffee that I've tasted in the world. So I'm going to be sharing with you more about what these exciting coffees are all about. And we're going to be sharing her story, how she created this company. She's a mom. And all you entrepreneurs out there or aspiring entrepreneurs, you're not going to want to miss this episode because we're going to be sharing with you some insight and some wisdom about entrepreneurship and specifically what it takes to create a business, to run a business, especially being a mom. And just a little bit more about this amazing, fabulous woman. And she has kindly sent over some product to us for us to try over here. And I've tried all of them. They're amazing. But before we get into that, just want to say thank you and welcome to everyone who continues to join and tune in every week. I was just in Los Angeles this past weekend, making some big changes over here, moving back to LA soon. And we're going to be just continuing to ramp up everything that I'm doing here with regards to my Inspire course, my in-person Inspire retreats, and my Beyond Impact Mastery class. So anyone out there who's looking for support in leveling up in life, whether that's with business, entrepreneurship, with your communications, desire to be on stages, to speak, I offer a whole host of support that I've learned from my 20 plus years in the acting industry to support you in becoming a master communicator, both on the stage and one-on-one in person. So this is something that I am super passionate about. And as someone who is a former introvert and terrified of being on stage and in front of people, a lot of the things that I've learned as an actor from my acting classes, from a lot of my incredible acting teachers, has allowed me to be able to pursue my dreams and my goals. And a lot of the times, the only thing that is holding us back in life is this up here, our beliefs that we are not good enough or that we don't deserve it. And so this is something that I'm excited to talk to my guest about tonight, because I'm sure she's run into a few challenges along her entrepreneurial journey. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to read her bio here. Her name is Lan Pham, and Lan Pham, excuse me. And I've already butchered her name, so I apologize for that, Lan. Lan is a proud first-gen Vietnamese American immigrant and a founder of Sayang Coffee. Her mission is to share the vibrant flavors and culinary traditions of her homeland with modern American consumers, one delicious Vietnamese treat at a time. And she launched Sayang Coffee in 2022 with a collection of 5 fiery canned Vietnamese iced coffees in both dairy and non-dairy options. Since then, Sayang has expanded and their coffees are available in over 5,000 stores nationwide. So this is the coffee, ladies and gents, and they come in these really cool packaging here, and her branding is amazing. So I want to talk to her about the branding and how she came up with these cool colors and the name itself. But without further ado, ladies and gents, let's bring to the stage Miss Lan Pham. How you doing, Lan?
Hi, Colin. Good to see you. Don't worry about it.
For
Don't
butchering me just right from the get-go.
It's okay. It happens all the time.
Well, thank you for taking the time to share with us your story and your inspiration behind these amazing coffees. And I'd just like to hear a little bit about your backstory, your first-gen Vietnamese, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I was born in Vietnam. I came here when I was a baby, less than a year and a half old. I don't even really recall. And, I'm the youngest of 8. We left in waves post the fall of Saigon. So we had to sneak out, really my mom and number 1 and 3 went together because number 1 took care of number 3, and then number 2 and number 4 went together, and then my mom took the youngest 4, and we all ended up at 3 different refugee camps, and then ended up in Kansas after being on a refugee camp for about a year. And yeah, we're in Kansas just for 2 years, and my mom was like, "This is not Vietnam; it's very cold," and we moved to California from there.
Okay. And so at 8 years old, did you have any idea or any just dreams of ever coming to America? Was this something that you were excited to do as an immigrant?
No,
No.
I mean, we were, I mean, I was a baby, but we came here, and by the time I got to Vietnam, English was not my English was not my first language. Vietnamese was only spoken at home. And so, I mean, for my mom is definitely to reach the American dream and to go to America and to get her kids the best education possible. And so it was definitely a dream of my mom and my older siblings.
Okay. And was it your mom and your dad that came together, or was just your mom? Or
it was my mom's a single mom. My dad made his own way to America. It was really, as you can imagine, really chaotic during that time. And he and my mom were having trouble, and so he left. And but we eventually synced up with him in the States afterwards. But yeah, it was. I can't imagine the way my mom communicated with her other 4 kids that were at different refugee camps, because like I said, she was just with the younger 4. She had no idea. This is before iPhones, email, and everything. And the only way you could communicate was like send a bulletin on the monthly refugee camp, like distribution, or I don't even newsletter or whatever. And so that's how they would all communicate, and they would have to wait monthly to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just a side note, because immigration is a big button topic in this country nowadays. As someone who actually did immigrate to the United States, what is that process like? Is it it seems like the United States it can be a safe haven for people. You said you grew up in Saigon. What was it like in Saigon when you were there, and why did your family want to leave?
Well, I was a baby, so I don't know a lot but for my family, it was the war, the post, Vietnam War. It was havoc. It was a really chaotic time. The communists were taking over. The South Vietnamese government was in place for so long, but, we were losing the war against the communists. And for us, immigration is a huge topic. We came here legally. We were sponsored by a church in Kansas, and we had cousins that helped us when we got here. But I couldn't imagine immigrating now in 2023. It's just so combative. It's very much a very different environment than when, we came here after the Vietnam War. It wasn't like we were very widely accepted or anything like that. It was such such anti-war sentiment in the U.S. during that time, and very much like we are right now. And so it was very, very difficult and to assimilate, and to, even in California, when there are a lot of Asian Americans that look like you, but not so much when I was in Kansas.
Okay. And it sounds like your mom was very inspirational with helping you have this can-do attitude of just going to do it. My mom was very similar. She's an immigrant from Ireland, and she always instilled in me that, if you have a desire to do something, that, I think it just comes with that can-do spirit of coming from another country and knowing that America is the place where you can pursue dreams. How instrumental was your mom truly in your upbringing?
Oh, she is, to this day. There are, I have 2 kids, and there are 30 cousins that they have, in total, because, all 8 of us, we had anywhere from 2 to 4 kids. So you can imagine it's quite a big family gathering. And she is responsible for everyone's existence here in America today. And doctors, lawyers, went to Duke, Harvard, Brown, like very, the typical tiger mom, Asian upbringing of education first, and not without trial and tribulation and not understanding the system, but she was extremely instrumental. And it's without her, none of this, all of us would not be the American dream.
Can you remember something specific that she said to you, or an occasion that she really stepped up and helped you get through something that you're dealing with?
I think about all the times when I was a little kid and I was such a brat to her, like we all are. We all are horrible to our parents, right? And she would just slave over the stove and make me the most delicious like meals, and then it was the class potlucks, and I've said this before, I did not want her food at I wanted a casserole. And she said to me, she was like, someday you're going to be proud to be different. And, it was, and I think that's what makes Sayang successful now, because we are different. So, yeah, she definitely had a lot of wisdom that I did not think was wisdom at the time.
Sure. And did her cooking and her culinary skills in the kitchen, did that rub off on you then?
It did. But truth be told, I have not cooked a lot since I started Sayang. It's a lot of Uber Eats and takeout. But yes, I do have a great pho recipe and do like cook a lot of food for the kids. But like I said, the last 2.5 years, it's kind of been long and laborious hours, and so it's very hard to like really have that mental capacity to plan all the kids' meals like I used to.
Yeah, I would love to get into about how you balance work life, career, kids, and all that. But just from, you mentioned going to California, growing up there, then you said you moved to New York at what stage in your life?
I moved to New York, met my ex-husband at the time, and we moved to New York. And 20 years ago, I said a decade, but then I realized, no, it's 2 decades. And so my son is turning 19 in 2 weeks. Wow. So we lived in New York, a year before we were single and loving the life, and, not single, but parents without kids, loving the life. And then my children were born. And like I said, my son is 19 and my daughter is 17. And so, it's a good time to do Sayang now. I couldn't imagine. They're super proud to watch the journey, because it's, I think they're old enough to appreciate it versus when they were younger. And so I'm glad, and they've been very helpful and supportive. And so juggling that is easier now that they're older.
Yeah. And Sayang is relatively new, right? It's only what, 2-3 years old?
Yeah, I had the idea 3 years ago, and we launched it took about a good year of like, setting up branding, formulation, and all of that, and trial days. And we launched into retail February of last year. And yeah, it's been a wild ride since that launch into retail.
Was this something you always wanted to do, or what were you doing before?
I never thought that I would be a startup founder, venture backed, and I couldn't tell you all the different kind of venture capital firms that were out there. I didn't know that I needed to target consumer product good firms, but I have been in the consumer space for more than 2 decades. I worked in partnerships before at a JV with Amex, and then the last 2 jobs that I had were really consumer focused, of us trying to find new consumer brands, whether it be skincare, lifestyle, shoe brands, or whatever, and then pair them with really lucrative airline partnerships. And so I felt like that really set me up really nicely I was really plugged into the consumer space. I knew a lot of consumer founders, and COVID happened, and it was like, I do this now or never. And so I did it.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the skill sets or traits necessary to start your own business?
A little bit of naivete, right? But alongside that naivete, it's also, you have to be prepared, right? You be prepared, and and not know the naivete. What I talk about is, there's so much that can happen that goes wrong, and you don't expect for it. You think you're so prepared, and you think you can not invincible, but you think you have all the answers. But some days you don't have the answers, and they come a little bit later. And so definitely the tough skin, and accepting that things that you don't know, and then that you'll eventually figure it out.
Yeah, well, I'd say you've got to be incredibly proud of I mean, the branding is amazing. The colors, the name Sayang, where does that come from?
Sure. So, I have an amazing design team, and it was our first call with them, and they asked me what are our what a few Vietnamese words. The company was originally named like Cafe, that you see the Vietnamese words, how it's spelled CAPHE. And yeah, it's not a great name. And so I thought it was really cool and innovative, but no. So we did some branding exercises, and we talked about some Vietnamese words, and then Sayang was the word. It was like 15 minutes into the exercise, and it was very clearly that's what the winner was. And Sayang means the crown over the A. It represents all the different meanings of Sayang and all the different ways people drink coffee around the world. And so it means morning, it means bright, it means luxurious. It has all these different meanings in Vietnamese, depending if the accent goes up, down, or a hat.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And what it says, what does this mean?
So that says it's basically iced coffee, iced milk coffee. And so four of them have the same words, say iced milk coffee. And then the other one, the purple can has, the black can just says iced black coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have that around here somewhere. Yes, this one here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So is coffee something that you just were like you just absolutely love? Like, how did it end up being coffee?
It wasn't I'm going to start a coffee company. It was, how can I really show all the beautiful, deep and rich culture of Vietnam? And it was a Vietnamese focused product first. And I did a lot of research, and it was always, Vietnam is the number 2 exporter of beans to the world. What happens is they get bundled in with beans from Africa, beans from Colombia. It's the Robusta bean. And people don't know that. And the deep and rich culture of Vietnamese coffee, when you go to Vietnam, it's the French influence of the cafes. But the Vietnamese twist, and when you go to the cafes in Vietnam, everyone's sitting on their stools, the little tiny stools outside, outdoor cafes. And then they have the little coffee fiends, these little coffee makers how you make Vietnamese coffee. And so I honed in on Vietnamese coffee because it was just so deep and rich in the culture. And then I live in New York. You go to any Brooklyn hipster ice cream shop, and it's Vietnamese coffee, ice cream flavor. You go to the Coffee Bean in LA, and they have Vietnamese coffee on the menu. And so it was very clearly a trending flavor profile. And I wanted to do it in a way that really honored the culture.
Awesome. When I was living in Chicago, there was a Vietnamese coffee shop that opened up right next to where I lived. And I was like, what is this? I went in there, and it definitely has like a bit of a spicy bite to it, which makes it definitely unique and distinctive. So can you explain to us a little bit about how you came up with the flavors here? So we've got cinnamon latte, traditional, we've got oat milk, and the Saigon cinnamon oat milk latte, and then the black. What makes it that spicy bite to it?
Sure. So Vietnamese coffee is a strong cup of coffee. It is double the amount of caffeine that you'll get from like a La Colombe or a Rise. I'm not drinking it right now, Colin, because it's 8:00 in the evening, and I will not go to sleep. So I'm having water. But usually our cans vary from 150 milligrams to 200 milligrams of caffeine per can. And they're made with condensed milk. 2 of the SKUs are made with condensed milk, and that blue can that you are holding up, that was the idea. That's the premise. That's a traditional Vietnamese iced coffee. No, the turquoise. Yep. That's a traditional Vietnamese coffee with condensed milk. That's what you have when you go to a Vietnamese restaurant. That's what you have when you go to like Vietnamese coffee shops. And this was always about bridging the culture between where I'm from and where I live now in the US. And the number 1 milk alternative in America is oat milk. And there isn't a Vietnamese coffee brand that really caters to the oat milk drinkers, the vegan drinkers, in a way that Sayang does. And so 2 of the SKUs are with traditional condensed milk, and then 2 of them are with oat milk. And the Saigon cinnamon lattes came along about 6 months after I had the first idea. And it was during the time, and it was like July, and we were at the beach, and we went to like a Starbucks, and we're already seeing like pumpkin spice lattes or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just a joke of like our anti-pumpkin spice latte, answer to that Starbucks culture. And it's, become a really great bestseller for us, those Saigon cinnamon lattes. And there's really nothing like that in a canned format that has a spice to it like that, the cinnamon spice. So yeah, we're doing quite well with those.
So we've got a bunch of people on here, and if you guys have any questions about coffee or entrepreneurship or anything, maybe perhaps about Vietnam, feel free to ask here. Lan has been gracious enough to send me a bunch of this stuff, and whoever stays till the end of the show, we're actually going to be sending out, we're going to be picking one lucky person who we're going to be shipping a case of this stuff to, whatever you want.
What flavor? Whatever flavor. You just go on our website, you tell Colin, you tell me, or whatever, and we will ship you a case.
And if you go to eatdrinksayang.com, you can check out the different varieties there and use Colin 15 for 15% off. But for those of you who are here tonight, one of you is going to be a lucky recipient of some of this amazing coffee. And I noticed you use monk fruit as a sweetener in this, which is great because as I've been just exploring, health and wellness and healthier ways to eat, I've noticed that monk fruit has a low glycemic effect, so it doesn't spike your blood sugar and cause that sugar crash. Obviously, it's probably one of the reasons why you use it in your coffee.
We use it in our coffee. If you were to take that cup of coffee that you get from a pho restaurant, a Vietnamese restaurant, and want the nutritional panel behind that, you would not want to see it. It would be about 400 milligrams of caffeine. It's a lot of caffeine, and it would be like 20 or almost 30 grams of sugar. And so I started this, I always wanted it to hover around 100 calories because anything more than that, that's my threshold.
Yeah.
And so we really cut the sweetness and cut the necessity for sugar with that monk fruit.
Yeah, this is great because most of the frappuccinos and stuff at Starbucks.
Yeah,
I get why people love them because they're sweet and they're tasty and they got the whipped cream and the caramel drizzle and all that. But I'm telling you, this stuff it tastes just as good, if not better, because it doesn't have that chemical taste that a lot of like different frappuccinos and things at Starbucks has. And like you said, I'm looking at the can here. This one has 110 calories. This one's 120.
Yeah.
One's 110, 110. And then the black coffee is only 10 calories.
Yeah.
So these are a great, tasty treat that will satisfy your sugar craving, and especially with the additional caffeine, give you that nice little energy punch that you need sometimes in the afternoon.
Well, like I said, I usually have it around 1 o'clock. My cutoff is 3 o'clock. I'm a little bit of a wuss for a person who has a coffee company, but I indulge around 1 o'clock. And then if I do any later, I cannot sleep.
I hear you. So Kids author Dave says, congrats, Lan. Will Sayang be available in Singapore or outside the U.S. anytime soon?
We're in about 5,000 stores in the U.S., and then our next expansion will be probably in Mexico. But no, we're not going to be in Singapore in the next year and a half. I think we'll explore other avenues before that. So sorry, Kids author Dave.
Yeah. And having had all this experience, this background in consumer branding and products, when you first started this, what's something that you didn't know that now you do know that you wish you would have known when you started?
How hard it is to make a coffee taste the way you want at scale. Like I had my formula. You have the recipe that you think your mom that you made with your mom all your childhood and at the Vietnamese restaurants. And then you go to the food scientist, and you go to the formulator, and then you realize it's just when you're mixing tons and 500-gallon jugs or whatever, it's very, very hard to create something at scale. And so that was the biggest thing for us. We spent a lot of money on R&D, and we had fail a couple of failures in the initial trial run of bringing it to scale. And so I think really sticking to what I always wanted was the flavor and the flavor first, and not to compromise on that. And so I think that's the biggest thing, to really hold true to whatever you set out to do.
And so you were talking about, was it venture capital that you mentioned? So for anyone out there who's thinking about starting a business, just from like a basic introductory level, if you could, like business 101, you have the idea, you write a business plan, you start putting some numbers together, you look at the marketplace, and then you have this idea. Did you start, I'm sure you started doing formulations. Was this in your kitchen that you were actually doing this on your own, or?
It's in the kitchen, in that you send, you're like, oh, this is how sweet I like it. And you send it to the food scientist, and then they send you batches and batches of product to try. It's like, okay, I think we have it. This is what it tastes like. So in the kitchen, in that sense of you're trying it. In terms of venture capital and the idea and how you go about all this, beverage is very expensive. It's very, very difficult. I bootstrapped it myself until I couldn't any further, because it like I said, it's incredibly expensive. But I was very convinced that I was onto something. I really wanted to rival the big guys, Starbucks, La Colombe, and really go after those guys. Blue Bottle, who's owned by Nestle now, La Colombe, owned by Dr. Pepper. And so I think there is an opportunity for for a young brand to disrupt that.
Awesome. And once you started to grow and you were starting to run out of some capital, then it's setting up these meetings with venture capital companies. And can you tell us a little bit about that process and what that was like? What do you have to prepare? You're walking into a room, pitching your deck and the financials.
It is, well, very early on, you learn very quickly that I didn't even have product, Colin, the cans that you see now. I had like a sticker wrapped around a plastic water bottle, basically, and saying, this is what it's going to taste like, and this is what it's going to look like, with the photo of the images of the cans, right? And so at first, there are a few venture capital firms that will, they like to call pre-revenue, and you're working off of an idea, right? And they'll take a chance on you if they really think the idea is disruptive and something new. But like your network is your biggest support system in the early days of a new company like that. And so you have, people call it the friends and family round, and right. And so I definitely went with friends and family first, and and then you venture onto the venture capital guys and the big funds, and you pitch your idea there.
And is it similar to Shark Tank, where you go into these rooms and you've got like 5 minutes or 10 minutes to share your idea? Or?
You don't have 5 or 10 minutes. You have an hour.
Okay.
Basically to tell. A lot of it in the beginning is getting to know you and knowing your story, just like I'm telling you guys what my story of in Vietnam, and then the origin story of in COVID and all that. So you tell that the first 5-10 minutes, getting to know yourself, and then you talk about the business and where you see the business going. And from there, they like to keep the conversation going, and then you can send them more, more information on the financials and more grittier, more detailed information. But yeah, it's very much like Shark Tank, but I have to say the Shark Tank guys are pretty predatory. The terms are very much in their favor. It's not like that in real life. That if you have a good idea and have good conviction, you get better terms than you do with Shark Tank.
Nice. And has it been difficult getting into, you're now in over 5,000 stores nationwide. Is that process difficult?
It is so difficult because it's like, great, I had the idea in 2022, and then you're like, okay, we're going to have all these meetings with the buyers and everything. But, you can't have the meetings with the buyers because unlike the investors, you actually need the finished product. You need the UPC codes. You need all this, like you need the FDA attorney to review your label. You need very real technical stuff that protects the consumer, right? And so, so we finally were able to do that in 2022, late 2022. And then it was pretty smooth sailing from there. I think the buyers see a lot of what you see, and that are really beautiful packaging and taste what you taste, a really great coffee. And I think that's why we were so successful in year one so very quickly with all the distribution that we got. And so now it's continuing to grow, even though we're in 5,000 stores. There's so many other grocery chains and club chains and other opportunities that we would like to uncover and continue to grow. But yeah, it's definitely challenging in the beginning, but now I think we're at a easier clip right now.
Would you call it a tipping point?
Not quite a tipping point yet. I have deeper goals and want to bring it much, much further. And so maybe in a couple years. But yeah, I see somebody from Oregon in the chat, and just want to say that we just launched in Hagen, Alicia, in Oregon, which has like 12 stores. It's a really big chain there. And so I think that just launched like 2 weeks ago. So that'll be very good. You could pick it up there, Alicia.
Congrats. And what other stores are you in other than?
So we're in Target, we're in Bristol Farms. We're going to have a big national launch in July that we're very excited to announce here soon. Target, like I said, 1,500 Target stores, and Fresh Market on the East Coast, ShopRite, Meyer in the Midwest, and more than 1,000 other independent accounts that you see, like the Hagens and everywhere else.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Congrats. That's so cool. And again, anyone who's wanting to get your hands on some of this, go to eatdrinksayang.com. And again, you can use my code Colin15 for 15% off. And Lan, as a mom, having gone on this entrepreneurial journey, how do you balance your work and your passion for what you do, and obviously being there and being present as a mom for your kids?
It's hard. It's really hard, even though my son just left last September to college. But my daughter, she's a rising senior next year, and you have that little finite time with them before they go away. And I don't want to always be on the road going to all these trade shows, and I want to be here for her. And so it was her birthday. I said, I blocked out that week. You can't do that week. There was an important production run. I'm like, sorry. And there's trade shows, and then it's her spring break. Sorry, I have to cut that trade show short. And, I'm there at the beginning half of the week. And so always putting the kids first, because what am I doing it for? Not for my ego. It's, to support my family, and it's my kids. And so keeping what's important always top of mind.
What's some life lessons that you try to instill with your kids?
I think that, like I said, the biggest thing that I'm so happy that I did this, I'm, in my mid 40s, and that they were able to see me build this as teenagers, and they they were able to appreciate it, from just the idea of, seeing mom name the company and then seeing the cans, and just like, that's the most enjoyable part for them, for me, is them seeing all the milestones that I hit. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got into Target. Oh my gosh, I got into whatever. Oh my gosh, I raised this amount of money. And so it's just the for them to see, to follow their dreams, and to see the hard work it takes to get there. And I think that's the biggest thing that's been the most rewarding to me, is that they've been able to follow their journey and see the success with me.
So as someone who's gone on over 2,000 auditions in my career, have you ever done any acting?
I've never done any acting, no.
There's a lot of quote unquote failure that goes along with auditioning and it not working out the way you want it to. During this journey, the topic of failure comes up a lot whenever I talk to any of my, some of my clients, or just other people out there in general. I ask what inspires people, what is their dream, and they'll say, "Oh, I want to write a book, or start a course, or start a business." And the thing that may stop them, it has to do with the topic of the fear of failure.
Yeah.
And was that ever something that you were afraid of, or like, if this didn't work out, did you have a plan B, or were you just so committed to making this work that you were failure wasn't even an option?
Well, keep in mind, I'm the youngest of 8, and there are doctors and engineers in my family, and kids who went to Ivies, and, and that was not me. I went to CU Boulder, and I definitely was not like the Tiger Mom's approval. She had no idea what brand partnerships and what marketing was, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was already failure, right? In an Asian household. But failure definitely was not an option when you're a single mom and you poured, 6 figures of your own savings into this. Yeah. And it's not like I set out to say, I'm going to spend X amount of money. It was, okay, great. I have this idea. Google it. Okay, I'll take that step. It's $10,000 for this, and then $10,000 for an attorney, and then X amount of money for branding, and X. And so it just piles on, and never at any point, I think after I wrote that first check of whatever that I needed to start this, even like registering the company, I was never turning back, because I had already invested my time, my energy, and, I don't think, like, it's not like the saying failure was not an option. It was just, I'm doing this.
Were people like, Lan, you are crazy. What are you doing? Like, what?
I think a lot of people didn't call me crazy. I think a lot of people were like very excited, because I think they've, at least my close friends and my family were really, they invested in me. A lot of my friends and family, I think they've seen me and knew what I was capable of, and work, and, my own character through the years. And so they definitely put their money where their mouth was and invested. And so it wasn't so much you're crazy, more like, you're crazy, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And if you were to invest, if let's say you were working at a VC firm, what characteristics or traits would make you feel comfortable investing into a young entrepreneur or a startup company?
I want to say this. First of all, I want to answer Elizabeth's question about Publix or Kroger. And no, we're not in any of those. I think you're probably in like Florida, and the biggest thing, the biggest chain we're down in Florida are the Targets, obviously. And then oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the store? The Fresh Markets. We're there at the Fresh Markets in Florida.
And I know Elizabeth, she lives in Georgia. Are you guys?
Oh, in Georgia, the Fresh Market, there's a lot of, that's a big one in Georgia. So in terms of like advice of like what to do and what to get, like in the VCs, and I have to say, as a woman, I very much, you pitch 2 different ways, right? As a woman, you can say, I am going to, no, as a guy, you can say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. I have this idea and I am going to do this. And then this guy gets like millions of dollars of a check, right? And a really outrageous valuation of his company. But the woman, they need to prove what they've already done, right? You need to tell me what you've done. You need to show me, right? And that's where I feel like the biggest disconnect for men and women, or wherever it was for me. You know, women only get 1% of venture capital funding. You know, 1.7% of venture capital funding for sole female founders.
That's
and
crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of inherent bias, and we're not going to get into all that, like, PC political stuff, or, but it's very much true. I experienced it, and it's not like I'm, complaining about it. I was able to navigate it, but just to be very aware that we have a higher hurdle that we need to jump and to cross in order to like get that check.
Why do you think that is?
Like I said, I think it's just the inherent bias, and there's a lot of the people that control the checks in the VC world are guys, and I think they feel a little bit more familiar. And that's to say, I've met a lot of great ones too, have been very supportive and very much like that don't have that, but the numbers don't lie that we only have 1.7% of the funding.
How many employees do you have?
I have about they're all fractional. And so there's about 9 people on the team. That's why I've been able to build this. COVID, the blessing of COVID, that you can get talent anywhere in the world, in the US or wherever, at a fraction of the price. And because people are, taking part-time work, or a fraction of the price because, you can have somebody Zoom in from somewhere else. And so, yeah, there's about 9 of us now. We're going to hire some more people here, full-time people here in the next few months. But it's when you're early stages like me, there's a lot of hats that I carry. And today I was at the warehouse picking up the product for a show. And so it's not always glamorous with, when you're a sole founder.
Sure. So I would imagine then you outsource quite a bit of stuff like marketing, social media, website.
Yeah. I outsource a lot of it. I've found a lot of great agencies that are based in Portugal and Colombia and Sri Lanka. I've been really, really fortunate that way.
And how much cheaper would you say those agencies are than in the United States?
Pretty significantly cheaper. Yeah. And you get great talent, amazing talent. And so, you can get a great SMS marketing agency. You can get a great, content marketer, or whatever it is, because for me, early stages, I feel like I all the decisions roll through me anyways. And so it's just project management with a lot of those people. And so until we have the funding, until we, get a little deeper, then I can hire full-time people. But yeah, they're all the part-time help. There's about 9 of us.
So I'm sure you've heard about, is it Sarah Blakely, who created Space, where when she first started out, she was actually going to the department stores and physically there and like telling people who were walking to the department store about the Spanx and just promoting it herself. Would you say that a lot of the success of a startup has to do with the conviction and the passion of the founder, and you're out there and you're really the one that's doing a lot of the work?
There is no job that is, beneath me, or like, I'm not, I will do everything, whatever it takes to make this successful. And I have that passion and the conviction too, because if I walk by a store and, the packaging pops and I see it from a distance, I always run in if it's not somewhere that I know, because, you know, we're in so many stores, especially in New York City. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. Yeah. I'll run in and introduce myself and I'll ask how the product's doing. And then I'll just say, oh, you're missing the bestseller. You should order more of the bestseller. And it just happened last week. I have yet to, my friends have seen it. My family have, I have yet to see a person walking down the street with a can of Sayang. And so I have said to myself, the first person that I see actually like walking down the streets of New York City with a can, I will give them like a year's supply of Sayang. So
amazing.
So if any of you guys live in New York City, just be aware that I will do that, but I haven't. But yeah, so it's that same conviction and the same excitement that I see a new store or anything like that. So yeah, I think it definitely, the passion that the founder has is very important to the success of it.
And as the CEO, obviously the leader of your company, what would you say are some important leadership characteristics or traits that you try to lead with in terms of inspiring your team to keep being enrolled in this vision on those like Monday mornings and Tuesdays when it's like, okay, here we go again. And we're continually wanting to put out, you know, our messaging and, you know, grow the brand. What would you say are some leadership qualities that you could share with us that you feel have helped you with your success?
I think that the number one thing is my passion and my conviction and my personality of that. I am so steadfast in the honest belief that we have the best ready to drink coffee in the market. I don't waver on that. I very much believe that. And I think, you know, the team has drank the proverbial Kool-Aid or the coffee now and really believes that. And so when we see competitors and we see people copy us and we see certain things, I think everyone is very much share the team. My passion for it very much like is infectious with the team. And so, and then also like, that is the human element of, you know, excitement, and then just empathy with the team and understanding that, you know, this is a job for a lot of the people and wherever they're based, and have that understanding that we're all going through something some days, and not everyone's going to put their best work forward every single day. And that's me too, even though I try my best and some days I, you know, fall short. And so I think it's just that human element of me that's what makes the, you know, the company and everyone that works for me and with me, you know, successful.
Well, your passion is evident, and Elizabeth is saying all of that is very obvious, as we can tell with just exudes. You radiate your passion for all of this, which is I can tell why you are so successful with creating all of this so far. And lastly, from an overall life perspective or life advice point of view, if you were to go back in time and meet your 20-year-old self when you were just kind of starting out as a young adult in this world, what would you say are some pieces of advice that you would have appreciated hearing?
I would say don't go on that diet at 20, because I was all that collagen and all that very like teeny. But that's just to say, just to appreciate where you are, because you can just be on that diet for 20 years and always complain about being skinny or not being enough, right? And so that's what I would say. It's just, I boil it down to that diet, right? But it's really just that you are enough in that moment, and just to appreciate where you are. And then that journey that takes you to where I am now, like, you know, I had my kids really young. I had my son at 25, 26, and, you know, did not think that I would be an entrepreneur, right? And didn't think that I had that in me. And I think, you know, all my friends and family have always believed in me, and, you know, and so I should have just believed in myself at that time, because it would have, you know, saved so much angst and all, whatever it is, to where I am today. And, you know,
what were your doubts? you said you wish you would have believed in yourself.
I don't know. I think it's just really hard when you're like a young mom. And for me, honestly, Colin, I've never felt like I've fit in anywhere, right? Because I was a young mom, and being a 25-year-old mom in New York City, you might as well be a teenage bride because everyone is older and everyone's so career focused in New York in the beginning of their 20s. And so I didn't have that. I was always the youngest mom in the group. And then same with like when I was growing up, right? And I switched schools every 2 or 3 years because my parents, my mom started to do better, and we tried to put me into better schools from like where we were in the deep like inner city to like some really good private schools for me. And so I've never really felt anywhere that I belonged anywhere. And so like I think that's always like when I was and you talk about in your 20s that you can just say you are enough and that you do belong.
Love it. Yeah, I kind of felt the same thing where growing up in the Midwest, I love the Midwest, great people. I just kind of felt like there was just these like in high school, everyone wore Ralph Lauren, and if you didn't wear Ralph Lauren, then you were like an outcast or whatever it was. And there's just these kind of narrow pathways that I think some places tend to be all about. And when I got to New York City, what I liked about it was that it's such a melting pot of different cultures from all over the world. And I think this is something that I think more people could benefit from, just getting to know different cultures and traveling more and just getting out of the country to visit places that you just never had the opportunity to explore. Because at the end of the day, from what I've discovered from all my traveling and just meeting people from all over, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all have our desires and our dreams. We want to raise, families. We want to feel safe. We want to feel purposeful. And I just feel like so much gets in the way just from politics and all that stuff. That big reason why I do what I do is just to help try to clear up or kind of just break through that smoke screen of the things that maybe distract us from the things that I think are deeper and more important in life. And it's cool to see you just bringing your vision and your dream to life. And it's incredibly inspirational.
Well, it's true, Colin. Like the Midwest and Vietnam, the common thread is, like I said, it's humanity, and that we all fit in, and we all fit in a way that, we share that common goal of love and family and wanting what's best for your neighbor. And so like, I don't think you really get that perspective and that wisdom or whatever until, you're traveling, right? And age, and all of that. And so, most definitely.
Yeah. Have you been back to Vietnam?
And so that's a lot of it that inspired it. So I left when I was a baby, and I didn't go back until 2019, November 2019. And we joked that we brought COVID back because we came back and we were so sick and we were like coughing in December and whatever, but we didn't bring COVID back, but we were just, and then, but yeah,
it was you. Now
patient zero. No. So that I went back in 2019, and that's kind of a lot of what started that, my appreciation for my culture and my mom's history and all of that.
What would you say is unique about Vietnamese culture?
Vietnamese culture, a lot of people don't know that Vietnam is like this really bustling, growing economy. It's like double digit, like GDP, and it's like very highly educated workforce, like one of the highest literacy rates in Asia. And so like, Vietnam and the culture, and it's like, so that brings together like the drive and to excel and to do well. But it's so beautiful, the food and the family and just the landscape. Ha Long Bay is absolutely stunning. There's just some of the most beautiful places on earth are in Vietnam, and a lot of other places I'm sure that I haven't explored, but that's my culture, and I'm super proud to be from there.
Well, I've done 2 movies in Thailand. Does Vietnam have a thriving film culture there?
It's starting to. They really are everything. So, all the K-pop and so there's a lot of studios now in Vietnam, in Thailand, that they're trying to rival what Korea has done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lan, you are absolutely fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you.
And again, everyone, you guys have to check out eatdrinksayang.com and use code Colin15 for 15% off. And again, one of you is going to be lucky enough to receive a case of Sayang coffee by sticking here to the end. We're going to randomly choose someone who's going to be the lucky recipient of that. And speaking of film, are you ready to answer some questions about your 6 favorite movie-related questions?
Yes.
All right, Lan, you ready?
Yeah.
First one is, what is your favorite movie of all time?
My favorite movie of all time is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
You know what? I have yet to see that.
It's very different.
Yeah.
It is, and it'll go on to your next question of who my favorite is. But it is such a really deep and rich movie about like multi-generational, and they did it in a way of the Asian culture that just made it so like very, very unique. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That's going on my watch list.
Yeah.
Second question is, what was your favorite movie growing up as a kid?
My favorite movie growing up as a kid was Forrest Gump.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, my guest last week, that was his favorite movie as
well. And so a lot of the movies that I would watch with my mom or like my siblings, they loved, Tom Hanks. And so Tom Hanks movies, he was big, and, a lot of my brothers and my mom would learn English, and so that was one of my favorite movies growing up.
Yeah, as actors, we talk a lot about theme and as a character, what are some of the resiliency story points of your character? What would you say is the theme of that movie that made you fall in love with it?
I mean, he's such an underdog, and you just love his character, right? And I guess you'll see the common theme of just like humanity. He's this person who's just struggling and just like special needs, and like very much, but very deep and very intelligent in of itself. And so I loved that movie when I was growing up.
Yeah, I loved just that he was just so accepting of everyone.
Yeah.
Just the simple way that he looked at life and the goodness that everyone had. Yeah. Great movie. What's your favorite romantic comedy?
Oh my gosh. I probably have seen this no short of like 50 times, like The Notebook with my daughter. Anytime you want a good cry, like I don't know how many times that's been the answer on your show, but like
my favorite romantic movie. Yes. I'm not afraid to.
If I'm scrolling through television and it's like on HBO, I'm like, oh, I'll watch it and like still cry every single time. And it's my favorite.
Yeah. Sure. I still want to just yell at her and be like, wake up, just go with him.
I know.
Yeah. Visually beautiful.
Beautiful, all of it. It's just the span of their life, all of it.
Yeah. All you got to do, I've realized, is build a woman a house. And
with the picket fence and the wraparound porch.
Exactly. And what is your favorite comedy?
Oh my gosh, my favorite comedy was like Home Alone.
Yeah. Great movie.
Those are like the movies that I would watch with my family. And I mean, I'm not saying there's not great comedies now, right? Like I think I don't remember the movie my daughter and I watched the other day. We love Kevin Hart movies. We love Adam Sandler, but I love the older movies like that, right? It's just, there's an innocence to them. Yeah.
Actually, the Home Alone house is for sale in the northern suburbs of Chicago.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, but it's on the market right now.
Oh, wow. I don't have money for it.
Who is your favorite actor or male character in a movie?
Well, my favorite actor, like I said, it was Tom Hanks. And then I loved him in all his movies. Like I loved him in Big. I think someone said Big. And then I loved him in like even Philadelphia. Like I said, it's just, he's such a like character from just my childhood of like my watching it with my siblings.
Yeah. Okay. Good answer. He's one of my faves as well. And lastly, who's your favorite actress or female character?
I think it was Michelle Yeoh she's like the pinnacle of just Asian queen, and she was so good, and everything all at once. And I love her.
Awesome. Well, Lan, thanks so much for your time and sharing your wisdom, your insights, and for sending me these amazing, my new favorite coffees. I appreciate it. And again, everyone out there, thanks for tuning in. Lastly, Lan, I like to ask my guests a question that is my favorite word, which is inspire. My question to you is, what is something that inspires you?
Oh, I think we've covered this. It's my kids inspire me every day. I couldn't answer anything but that. They're just my inspiration and my purpose.
Awesome. All right. Well, good luck to you, Lan, and everyone out there. Go buy some Sayang coffee. I'm telling you, it's some of the best out there. Yeah. Lan, take care. Good luck with everything. And I hope to meet you in person sometime soon. Next time in New York.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Colin.
And be the lucky person who's drinking a Sayang coffee down New York streets.
Yeah, and get a free case. I'm not joking. I've yet to see it.
We're going to hold you to it.
Well, thank you, everyone. Well, you tell me who the winner is, and I'll send them the free case.
Okay, we'll do.
Thanks you.
Take care. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in tonight. And now it's time for, I'm going to randomly just scroll through the feed here, and anyone who's still here, what I'm going to ask you to do when I call your name is I'm going to just close my eyes here. I'm scrolling through. I have no idea who it's going to land on. You're going to be the lucky recipient of a case of Sayang coffee, and the winner is Selena Minjarez. Selena Minjarez. So Selena, all you need to do is email me at info@colinegglesfield.com with your address, and we will send you a case of Sayang coffee. Selena Minjarez, and congratulations. You have been the recipient, the lucky winner of this amazing coffee. And for the rest of you, you guys can go to, again, let me pull it up here, eatdrinksayangcoffee.com. Use code Colin15 for 15% off. And thanks again for tuning in for another amazing episode of Coffee with Colin. I'm excited because I'm going to be moving to Los Angeles next, actually in less than 2 months now. And we're going to be, as we continue to grow and expand, all this amazing abundance. And thanks for your support. We are going to be moving into Coffee with Colin is going to be shooting some episodes live at the Hollywire studio in Los Angeles. So as we continue to grow and we continue to just have some more incredible guests on the show, all your support and tuning in really makes a difference. So please subscribe and hit that notification button on YouTube so that you are notified every time we jump back on and do an episode. And if you have any suggestions about who you'd like to have on Coffee with Colin, we'd love for you to email me at info@colinegglesfield.com. And again, Miss Selena, oh gosh, where'd you go? Selena, I forget your last name, but just email me at info@colinegglesfield.com. And again, we will send you the case of Sayang coffee. And for those of you out there who are interested in getting any support with whatever it is that you are dealing with, whatever it is that you are venturing out to do, I do one-on-one coaching, and I've got my Beyond Impact Communications Masterclass, helping you become more confident in front of audiences and communicating on a deeper, more authentic level. This is something that I have been creating over the past few years, and it is just continuing to grow. I'm working with one of my private clients right now where we're doing a whole day of communications mastery and in-person deep work when it comes to getting in front of audiences and connecting with your mission, your vision, and your brand identity, your personal brand identity, and what it is that you are the best in the world at. And when I ask my clients this question, what are you the best in the world at? And if I were to ask you, What are you the best in the world at? What comes up for you? A lot of the times we have resistance to owning who we are as the best in the world at something. And this is one of the things that one of my acting teachers asked me when I was struggling in Los Angeles as an actor. I had the proficiency to get up and go into these auditions, and I was getting close to booking the role. But this woman really helped me identify some of the blind spots, the mental blind spots that I was holding on to in terms of I just didn't believe that I was good enough or that I was deserving of working on these biggest stages in the world. And most of the time, a lot of our belief systems and the way in which the world shows up for us is contingent on what we believe, not only about the world and what the world's opinion is on us, but how we show up for ourselves and how we advocate for ourselves, how we honor ourselves. And this is so important for anything that you want to do in life to be successful with it. And truly, it really just comes down to you really doing some deep work. And this is what I help my clients with, in getting in touch with what are your personal value systems. And on a deep soul level, what are these value systems in alignment with your soul purpose? And this is the work that has really made the biggest difference in my life. And if you're interested in getting some private coaching information, you can email me at info@colinegglesfield.com, and I will send you some information about my private coaching and my Patreon events that I do every month. Starting tomorrow night, the first Tuesday of the month, I do an hour of Empower. So this is a great way for you to show up and connect every first Tuesday of the month, where we do some goal setting. And with my 90-day playbook that just came out last week, I want to say a huge shout out to Nicole Maiden, who helped put together the event, and Elizabeth Krause, who helped me put the book together and get it published. Penguin Publishing Company who helped me get the book published. And it is going to be available on Amazon for you guys to order a copy of it yourself. And this is a 90-day planner that will help you identify what your biggest ambition goals are. And in 90 days, help you create the integrity to actually make it happen in this 90-day period. It's super, it's colorful, it's inspirational. There's inspirational quotes every day. There's a word prompt for you to draw to activate the right creative side of your brain. So it integrates mind, body, and spirit approach to how you show up for your day and how you show up for yourself, connected to your soul purpose. So this is super amazing. I can't wait for you guys to get a hold of this. And I'm going to be doing a 4-week class on how to actually use the planner. So as soon as this is available, I'm going to be making an announcement to everyone out there so that you can get your copy of it yourself. And in the meantime, thank you again for everyone who showed up tonight and who continues to show up. And I will see you guys all next week. All right. Take care for now, and have a great week.